Major Alexander Winters sat alone in his office at the Pentagon. His desk was covered with reports about strange things happening near Jupiter's moon Europa. He looked at the photos again. The flashes of light didn't look natural. At 42 years, old Winters had gray at his temples and lines around his eyes from years of worry. He had spent his whole career in Earth's Defense Strategy Division. People respected him but also thought he was too careful. Some called him paranoid. He picked up his coffee mug and found it empty. As he stood to refill it, his office phone rang. "Major Winters," he answered. "Sir, General Adams needs you in the Situation Room right now," said his assistant, voice tight, with tension. "On my way," Winters said. He left his coffee mug and grabbed his jacket. The Pentagon hallways were busier than normal. Staff moved quickly, their faces serious. Something big was happening. When Winters entered the Situation Room, he found it packed with high-ranking military officers and government scientists. Screens covered the walls. General Adams stood at the front, speaking quietly with a woman Winters recognized as Dr. Lily Barton, the country's top expert in possible alien languages. Dr. Barton looked pale. When she saw Winters, she waved him over. "It's happening," she whispered. "After all these years of searching and listening to the stars, we've made contact." Winters felt his heart beat faster. "Real contact? You're sure?" Before she could answer, General Adams called the room to order. "Ladies and gentlemen, 20 minutes ago, we received a direct communication from what appears to be an advanced alien civilization. They call themselves the Galactic Council." The main screen lit up with an image that made the room gasp. The being had silvery skin that seemed to shimmer. Its eyes were large and purple with no visible pupils. Its head was hairless and slightly larger than a human's. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Nix of the Galactic Council, a peaceful alliance of 37 advanced species from across this galaxy." The voice sounded almost human, but with a musical quality. The English was perfect. "We have observed your civilization for some time. Your recent technological advances have qualified Earth for an invitation to join our council. We offer friendship, knowledge, and protection." The ambassador explained that the council wanted to establish an embassy on Earth and share technology that would solve many human problems: clean energy, disease, hunger. All we ask in return is peaceful cooperation and a small location for our embassy. We come as friends and equals. The transmission ended. The room exploded with excited talk. President Howard Palmer arrived minutes later. He looked both worried and hopeful. "Opinions?" he asked the room. Most officials were excited. The head of NASA called it the greatest day in human history. The Energy Secretary talked about the technologies the aliens might share. When the president asked Winters for his thoughts, the room quieted. Everyone knew Winters was cautious about potential threats. "Mr. President, I would advise careful verification of everything they've said," Winters replied. "The offer sounds too good. Why would such an advanced group need anything from us?" Admiral Rogers rolled his eyes. "Always the pessimist, Winters. Sometimes good things just happen." The president nodded. "I understand your caution, Major, but we can't miss this opportunity. We'll proceed with meeting their representatives while taking reasonable safety measures." Over the next week, plans moved quickly. The Galactic Council sent a small ship to Earth. World leaders agreed to let them build an embassy in a neutral location in Switzerland. The aliens, 5 of them, looked just like Ambassador Nix. They brought gifts, a device that could clean polluted water instantly, plans for more efficient solar panels, and medicine that could cure several types of cancer. Winters watched the news coverage with growing worry. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't explain what. The council members answered all questions openly. They seemed peaceful. World markets soared as companies began working with alien technology. "You think I'm crazy, don't you?" Winters asked his old friend Captain Frank Murphy as they had drinks at a bar near the Pentagon. Murphy shrugged. "Not crazy, just overly careful. But that's why you're good at your job." "They're offering too much while asking for so little," Winters said. "That's not how first contact should work between strangers. Either they're hiding something, or they don't see us as equals. Maybe they're just nice, Murphy suggested. Winters shook his head. Nobody crosses the stars just to be nice. 2 weeks later, Winters voiced his concerns at a security briefing. He pointed out small inconsistencies in the aliens' story. When asked about their homeworld, different council members gave slightly different descriptions. Their explanation of how their faster-than-light travel worked changed subtly with each telling. We need to slow down this integration process, Winters argued. At least until we understand them better. Admiral Rogers sighed loudly. You're being paranoid, Winters. This is the greatest opportunity in human history, and you want to ruin it with baseless suspicions. General Adams looked uncomfortable but didn't support Winters. The meeting ended with a decision to continue as planned. The next day, Winters was removed from the alien contact team and assigned to review old defense protocols, a clear demotion. But Winters couldn't let go of his suspicions. At home, he began collecting all public information about the Galactic Council. He noticed patterns. The aliens always seemed most interested in Earth's defense systems, resource locations, and population centers, information that tourists wouldn't need. One night, working late, Winters discovered something. Using personal equipment, he detected encrypted transmissions from the alien embassy. They were sending signals to locations throughout the solar system, places where they had claimed not to have any presence. Working carefully to avoid detection, he managed to partially decode one transmission. What he read confirmed his worst fears. Phase 1 proceeding as planned. Earth defenses mapped. Resource survey complete. Humans remain unaware of true purpose. Recommend beginning Phase 2 within 1 Earth month. Winters sat back, his body cold with fear. The friendly diplomatic mission was actually reconnaissance. The Council representatives were secretly mapping Earth's defense capabilities and resources. His suspicions had been right. This wasn't about friendship or alliance. The Galactic Council had other plans for Earth, and they weren't going to be good for humanity. Now he just had to convince others before it was too late. 6 months had passed since the aliens from the Galactic Council first arrived on Earth. Major Alexander Winters now worked at a small desk in the basement of the Pentagon. His new job involved checking old paper files, a punishment for speaking out against the aliens. But Winters hadn't given up. Each night he worked from his home, gathering information about the Council. He had created a special room in his basement with maps, photos, and notes covering the walls. The room had no computers or phones, nothing the aliens could track. Winters wasn't working alone anymore. A small team had joined him. Dr. Lily Barton, who no longer trusted the aliens' language, Captain Frank Murphy, who believed his friend's warnings, Sergeant Peter Collins, who was good with radio equipment, and Amanda Kelly, an engineer from NASA who had noticed strange changes to Earth's satellites. I found something, Amanda said, one evening. She spread papers across Winters' kitchen table. These are reports from telescopes watching distant stars. 6 other planets received diplomatic missions from the Council in the last 2 years. What happened to those planets? Winters asked. Amanda's face was grim. 3 months after the IE Council arrived on each world, all communications stopped. Dr. Barton pointed to images of one planet called Kepler 438b. Look at these pictures. Before the Council, cities, forests, oceans. After, massive mining operations and what look like work camps. Winters studied the photos. They don't want partners. They want our resources and maybe workers. The Council isn't a democracy, it's an empire. The biggest breakthrough came when Amanda brought a broken piece of alien technology she had taken from her lab. Working together, the team managed to decrypt files from the device. The files revealed a clear timeline. Phase 1, integration, make humans trust the Council. Phase 2, strategic positioning, place Council ships at key locations on Earth. Phase 3, resource acquisition, take control and begin taking Earth's resources. According to the timeline, Phase 2 would begin in just 3 weeks. We need to warn people, Sergeant Collins said. Who would believe us? Captain Murphy asked. Look what happened when Winters tried before. We need proof no one can ignore, Winters said. And we need to find weaknesses in their technology. The next day, Dr. Barton and Winters requested a meeting with General Adams. They brought the evidence they had gathered. The meeting did not go well. Even if this is true, General Adams said after looking at their papers, what can we do? Their technology has already been built into our defense systems, power plants, and global communications. Many world leaders have accepted personal gifts from the Council. Those gifts are probably watching devices, Winters said. Maybe, Adams admitted. But we're too dependent on their systems now to turn back. As they left the Pentagon, Winters received a message on his phone. It wasn't from anyone he knew. You are correct about the Council. Some of us disagree with this conquest. Meet tonight if you want to save your people. The message was signed Vex, a name Winters recognized as one of the junior diplomats from the Council embassy. It could be a trap, Murphy warned when Winters called him. If they wanted to arrest me, they could have done it already, Winters replied. I'm going. That night, Winters met Vex in a quiet park. The alien looked like the others. Silver skin, large purple eyes, but seemed nervous, looking around often. Why are you helping us? Winters asked. Not all members of the Council agree with conquering other species, Vex explained. Some of us were conquered ourselves long ago. Our homeworlds are now just mining colonies. Vex confirmed everything Winters had discovered. The Council had a step-by-step plan they used on all resource-rich planets. First, gain trust. Then, place ships at key locations. Finally, take control of all major systems and begin taking resources. Earth is 2 weeks away from Phase 2, Vex said. Council ships will position themselves at key locations worldwide. They will call it cultural exchanges, but the ships carry weapons. How can we stop them? Winters asked. Their technology is far beyond ours. Your species has an advantage others didn't have, Vex said. Most planets the Council conquers have one world government. Your division into different countries makes you vulnerable in some ways, but potentially stronger in others. Over the next 10 days, Winters and his team worked non-stop. They recruited more people, military personnel who shared their concerns, independent scientists who hadn't worked with Council technology, and communication experts who could work without using compromised systems. Vex shared crucial information about Council technology. Their advanced systems worked on quantum principles that made them nearly impossible to hack. But this advanced technology had weaknesses too. It couldn't easily connect with Earth's older systems. President Palmer still wouldn't listen to warnings about the Council, but Vice Admiral Diane Russell had begun to have her own doubts. After seeing Winters' evidence, she secretly gave him permission to set up a backup command center in an old Cold War facility in Colorado. The facility was completely off all digital networks, a place the Council couldn't monitor. If you're wrong about this, Winters, it's the end of both our careers, Russell told him. If I'm right and we do nothing, it's the end of human freedom, Winters replied. 12 days later, Phase 2 began. 12 massive Council ships positioned themselves in Earth's orbit. Ambassador Nix announced this as the next step in greater cooperation, but Winters' team detected weapon systems powering up on each vessel. In the Colorado Command Center, Winters and his growing team worked around the clock. They couldn't match the aliens' technology, but they found a different approach. Using older technology the aliens had dismissed as primitive. World War II-era radio sets, mechanical systems with no digital components, and analog weapons that couldn't be hacked by quantum computers. These became the tools of Winters' resistance. The key moment came when a junior Council officer made a mistake. He transmitted orders without proper encryption. Winters' team intercepted the message, which revealed the planned takeover date, July 4th. A deliberate choice to break American spirits by corrupting their Independence Day. With confirmation of the coming attack, Winters put Operation Trojan Horse into motion. While the Council believed they had compromised Earth's military systems, Winters' team had been secretly building an independent defense network. As June turned to July, humanity prepared for a war that most people didn't even know was coming. Major Alexander Winters, once dismissed as paranoid, now led a resistance that would need to overcome not just alien technology, but also human division and denial. The Council had made one critical mistake. They had studied human weapons, but not human history. They didn't understand that humans were at their most dangerous when fighting for survival. And they had severely underestimated one determined major who refused to give up on his planet. July 3rd arrived with clear blue skies across America. People prepared for Independence Day celebrations, unaware of the danger above them. In the Colorado Command Center, Major Winters hadn't slept in 36 hours. The underground facility buzzed with activity as military personnel and civilian experts worked at stations filled with outdated equipment. "They're moving earlier than expected," Vex said, entering the room quickly. The alien looked tired, their silver skin duller than usual. "Xenar has ordered Phase 3 to begin today, not tomorrow." Winters nodded grimly. "They want to catch us off guard." He turned to Captain Murphy. "Send the alert. Code midnight." Across the globe, small groups of soldiers and civilians who had joined Winters' secret network received the message through radio systems too old for the aliens to monitor. They began final preparations for resistance. At exactly noon Eastern Time it happened. Across the world, power grids failed. Communications went dark. Military defense systems locked up. Millions of electronic devices connected to Council technology simply stopped working. On every working television and radio, Ambassador Nix appeared with a different message than the friendly one from months before. "People of Earth," the ambassador said, voice now cold and commanding. "The Galactic Council has determined your world has resources vital to our needs. Your technology and military capabilities are now under our control. Resistance is impossible and will result in unnecessary loss of life. Designated human leaders will receive instructions for the transition to Council management." In New York, the United Nations building was surrounded by floating devices that paralyzed everyone inside. In Washington, D.C., Council ships appeared above the White House and Pentagon. Similar scenes played out in capitals worldwide. But in his Colorado bunker, Winters smiled slightly. "They think they've shut down all our defenses," he said to his team. "They have no idea what's coming." For 6 months, Winters' network had been preparing. They had stored weapons that used no electronic parts. They had trained soldiers to use equipment from the 1940s. They had built radio systems that used frequencies the Council didn't monitor. "All units commence Operation Trojan Horse," Winters ordered through the old radio system. The first strike came from beneath the Pacific Ocean. 5 submarines, running on modified systems that didn't connect to any networks, launched missiles at Council harvesting operations that had been set up in the deep ocean. The aliens, not expecting any resistance, had no defenses ready. At the same time, Lieutenant Gregory Mason led a squadron of older fighter planes, stripped of modern electronics and retrofitted with mechanical systems. They attacked Council shuttles over North America. The alien craft were faster and more advanced, but they weren't prepared for weapons they couldn't hack or jam. "Reports coming in," Sergeant Collins announced, reading from paper messages delivered by runners. "Pacific submarine attack successful. 3 harvesting stations destroyed. Air attacks have taken down 7 shuttles with minimal losses. Council forces seem confused by our ability to fight back." Winters nodded. "They expected us to be helpless when they shut down our technology. They don't understand that humans can adapt." Dr. Barton worked with Vex and 3 other Council members who had joined the resistance. They used their knowledge to help create a device that could interfere with Council communications. "Their systems are all connected," Vex explained. "It's their strength but also their weakness. If we can disrupt their central communication hub, each ship will have to act independently." In the Council's main ship above New York, Ambassador Nix received disturbing reports. "How are they still fighting?" the ambassador demanded. "Our system shutdown should have disabled all their weapons." A Council technician looked worried. "They're using primitive technology we didn't account for, mechanical systems with no electronic components. We can't hack or disable them remotely. Send. In ground forces, Nix ordered. We need to secure their major cities immediately. Across Earth, Council shuttles landed in major cities. Alien soldiers with advanced weapons began setting up control points, but they met resistance everywhere. In some places, police and military fought with whatever weapons still worked. In others, ordinary citizens created barricades and used simple tools to fight back. In Chicago, a group of engineers led by Amanda Kelly's sister had created jammers that disrupted the Council soldiers' communication devices. In rural areas, farmers and hunters used hunting rifles, simple weapons with no electronics, to ambush alien patrols. Vice Admiral Russell, who had escaped the Pentagon before the attack, arrived at the Colorado facility with news. President Palmer and most of the cabinet have been captured, she reported. The Council is using them to broadcast surrender messages, but people aren't listening. They've seen the Council's true intentions now. Winters nodded. What about our special operation? Russell allowed herself a small smile. Ready when you are. This was the most daring part of Winters' plan. While the ground fighting kept the Council distracted, the real counterstrike was happening in space. For months, civilian space agencies from 12 countries had been secretly preparing what looked like ordinary satellites. But these weren't communications devices. They were delivery systems for specialized EMP devices that Amanda Kelly had developed based on information from VEX. Launch Operation Blackout, Winters ordered. In space, 47 small satellites activated at once. They moved toward the Council's main ships and attached to their hulls. The aliens detected them too late. When detonated, the devices released electromagnetic pulses that had been specifically designed to affect Council technology. The pulses didn't destroy the ships, but they temporarily disabled their propulsion and weapon systems. In the brief window that followed, Earth's hastily assembled space forces moved in. Led by Colonel Sam Mitchell, teams in modified space shuttles and experimental military spacecraft approached the disabled Council ships. Boarding parties have reached 3 Council ships, Collins reported excitedly. Mitchell says their crews were completely surprised. They never expected humans to reach them in space. For the first time in months, Winters allowed himself to feel real hope. The Council had made a critical error in their planning. They had studied human technology but dismissed it as primitive. They hadn't considered that this primitive technology could become a strength when their advanced systems failed. We've captured their communication hub, Mitchell's voice crackled over the radio. We're downloading their command codes now. In the Colorado bunker, the team cheered. They hadn't won the war yet, but they had just changed the rules of the game. Humanity wasn't going to fall easily, and Major Alexander Winters was just getting started. Send a message to all resistance forces, Winters said, his voice firm. Tell them, the fight for Earth has begun and we will not surrender. 3 days after Operation Blackout, the war for Earth had reached a turning point. Major Winters stood in the Colorado Command Center, looking at a large paper map with colored pins showing the positions of both human and Council forces. The Dela situation was better than anyone had dared hope, but victory was far from certain. Council reinforcements have arrived from their colony on Mars, Captain Murphy reported, placing red pins on the map. 6 more ships. But they can't communicate properly with the main fleet since we captured their hub, Sergeant Collins added. Their attacks are no longer coordinated. Winters nodded. The Council forces still had superior technology, but humans had advantages too. Earth forces were fighting for their home, knew the terrain, and were spread across the entire planet. The Council hadn't planned for a long battle. They had expected Earth to surrender quickly. What's the status of Project Echo? Winters asked. Dr. Barton looked up from her work with Vex and the other Council defectors. Almost ready. We've reverse-engineered enough of their communication codes to send fake orders to their forces. Winters had been named acting commander of Earth Defense Forces by the military leaders who remained free. With President Palmer still held captive, Vice Admiral Russell was the highest-ranking official at the command center. She had given Winters full authority to direct the global resistance. We have another problem, Russell said, entering the room with a serious face. The Council is rounding up civilians in occupied cities, They're taking them to processing centers. According to Vex, they'll be sent off-world as labor for mining operations. Winters frowned. They needed to strike back harder, but their resources were stretched thin. Then Amanda Kelly burst into the room, her eyes bright with excitement. "I've got it," she exclaimed. "We can use their own transportation system against them." The Council used matter transportation technology to move quickly between their ships and ground positions. Amanda had been studying captured equipment with her team of engineers. "Their transporters work on quantum entanglement," she explained. "But the targeting system has a flaw. If we broadcast this specific frequency," she handed Winters a paper with calculations, "we can redirect their transports to locations of our choosing." Winters smiled. "So when they try to send captives to their ships, we can send them to our safe zones instead," Amanda finished, "and we can redirect their troops into containment areas." The plan was risky but brilliant. While the Council focused on their ground operations, Earth forces would reset the quantum targeting system of the alien transporters. It would only work once before the Council discovered the trick, but it could save thousands of lives. Teams were dispatched to major cities with the equipment needed to hack the transport system. Meanwhile, Winters prepared for the next phase of counterattack. "The Council's biggest advantage is their orbital position," he told his officers. "We need to take more of their ships or force them away from Earth." Colonel Mitchell, who had led the boarding parties during Operation Blackout, had an idea. "The captured ships have shown us something important. The Council relies completely on their technology. Their crews have little training for actual combat. They never expected to be boarded." "So we board more ships," Winters said. "But how do we reach them? We used the element of surprise before, but they'll be expecting that now." The answer came from an unexpected source. In the Alps, a Swiss research team had maintained an experimental gravity manipulation device. It had been built before the Council arrived and wasn't connected to their networks. The device could create a temporary reduction in gravity in a limited area, enough to launch projectiles into orbit without rockets. These projectiles weren't weapons. They were delivery capsules for small teams of soldiers trained for zero-gravity combat. While the Council watched for conventional spacecraft, these capsules would approach from unexpected angles, using the Earth to hide their approach. As preparations continued, the Council launched a new offensive. They targeted the remaining military bases and power plants that humans had managed to bring back online. But each attack was met with fierce resistance. Humans had learned to be unpredictable, never defending in ways the Council expected. Washington, D.C., a Council commander named Krell led forces to capture the National Archives. Intelligence suggested humans were using the building's underground levels as a resistance headquarters. But when Council troops entered, they found the building empty except for America's founding documents on display. What Krell didn't know was that those documents had been replaced with perfect copies. The originals had been moved to safety weeks earlier. And while the aliens searched the building, resistance fighters captured 3 of their transport shuttles left unguarded outside. The Council's biggest mistake continued to be their underestimation of human adaptability. Their own society was highly structured and rule-bound. They couldn't comprehend how quickly humans could change tactics, learn new skills, or repurpose technology. 7 days into the war, Project Echo was ready. Using the captured communication hub, Winters' team sent fake orders to Council ground forces in 20 major cities. The orders instructed them to transport all human prisoners to their ships immediately. When the aliens activated their transport systems, the frequencies had been changed. Instead of reaching Council ships, 10,000 captured civilians appeared in resistance safe zones. At the same time, the confused alien soldiers found themselves transported to empty football stadiums, surrounded by human forces. "It worked!" Collins shouted as reports came in. Mexico City, Mumbai, Sydney, Moscow, all reporting successful redirects. "We've rescued almost all the captives and captured hundreds of Council troops." The victory boosted morale across Earth. Resistance forces grew as more people joined the fight. But the Council leadership was furious. In their flagship above New York, Ambassador Nix met with Supreme Commander Xanar, who had arrived with the reinforcements. "How is this possible?" Xanar demanded. "These humans use primitive technology. They should have been conquered within hours." "They are more resourceful than our studies indicated," Nix admitted. "And they have help from traitors like Vex." "Then we change strategies," Xanar decided. "If they won't surrender, we will make an example of one of their cities, prepare the main weapon." Back in Colorado, Winters received an urgent message from Vex's remaining contacts on the Council ships. The news was grim. The Council planned to destroy Denver with an antimatter weapon to break human resistance. "How much time do we have?" Winters asked. "Less than 12 hours, Vice Admiral Russell said. "We've ordered an evacuation, but we can't possibly get everyone out in time." Winters looked at the map, his mind racing. They had fought the Council to a standstill, but this was different. They needed a new plan, and fast. "Contact Colonel Mitchell," he ordered. "Tell him to prepare the captured ships. It's time to take this fight directly to their flagship." The captured Council ship moved silently through space, its exterior lights dark. Inside, Major Alexander Winters stood on the bridge with Colonel Mitchell and a small team of Earth's best soldiers. They wore modified spacesuits with extra armor. Each carried weapons taken from Council soldiers during previous battles. "Time to target?" Winters asked quietly. 3 minutes, Mitchell replied. "Their flagship still doesn't recognize us as a threat. Our identification codes are working." Winters nodded. Using codes from the communication hub they had captured, they were able to make the flagship's computers see them as a friendly vessel. It was a desperate plan, but Earth had run out of other options. The Council's antimatter weapon would destroy Denver in less than 2 hours if they didn't stop it. The mission was simple, but extremely dangerous. Board the flagship, find the weapon control center, and disable the weapon. At the same time, human forces would launch their largest attack yet on Council ground positions to keep the aliens distracted. 1 minute to docking, Mitchell announced. "Everyone ready?" The soldiers checked their weapons one last time. Dr. Barton had modified the alien guns to work without the genetic locks that normally allowed only Council members to use them. "Remember," Winters said to his team, "Xanar will be on the bridge. We need to capture him alive if possible. The Council follows a strict chain of command. With their leader captured, they might be willing to negotiate." The ship connected to the flagship with a soft thud. For a few tense seconds, they waited to see if their cover had been blown. No alarm sounded. "Move," Winters ordered. The team rushed from the ship into the flagship. Using maps provided by Vex, they split into 3 groups. Mitchell led his team toward the weapon systems. Another group headed for the engine room. Winters and 4 soldiers made their way toward the bridge. The inside of the flagship was huge. The halls were curved with smooth silver walls that seemed to glow slightly. Most areas were empty. The Council relied on automation for most ship functions. Winters' team encountered their first resistance 2 levels below the bridge. 6 Council guards appeared around a corner. They seemed shocked to see humans on their ship. The Earth soldiers fired first, using the modified alien weapons. 5 guards fell immediately. The 6th managed to hit an alarm panel before being shot. Red lights flashed and a low alarm sounded throughout the ship. "Our cover's blown," Winters said into his radio. "All teams, move quickly." Mitchell's voice came through the radio. "Almost. At the weapon systems, encountering heavy resistance." In the engine room, the 2nd team reported success. "Engines disabled. They can't move the ship to another firing position." Winters and his team fought their way upward. More Council guards appeared, but they seemed confused and disorganized. Earth forces had learned that despite their advanced technology, the Council members weren't good fighters. They relied too much on their systems and had little experience with actual combat. On the bridge, Supreme Commander Xanar received reports of the human boarding parties with disbelief. "How did they get on board?" he demanded of Ambassador Nix. "They must have used the codes from our captured communication hub," Nix replied. "The weapon must fire now before they can reach it. It needs 7 more minutes to charge," a technician reported. "The targeting system is locked on the human city." "Defend the weapon room at all costs," Xanar ordered. "And prepare my escape vessel." Winters and his team reached the level below, the bridge. The corridor ahead was blocked by a group of Council elite guards with heavy weapons. "We need another way to the bridge," Winters said. One of his soldiers, a former building engineer named Karen Sanders, studied the ceiling. The ventilation system. It should run above these corridors and connect to the bridge. Using their weapons, they created an opening in the ceiling. The space was tight, but they managed to squeeze through. Crawling through the dark tunnels, they followed the sound of voices until they were above the bridge. Meanwhile, Mitchell's team had reached the weapon control room. The door was sealed and heavily guarded. "We can't get through in time," Mitchell radioed to Winters. "The weapon is powering up." Winters looked through a small vent into the bridge below. He could see Zanar and Nick standing over a control panel. A large screen showed an image of Denver with a countdown timer. 5 minutes. "New plan," Winters said to his team. "We take the bridge and force them to shut down the weapon." Without waiting for a response, Winters kicked open the vent and dropped into the bridge, his team following right behind. The surprise was complete. Before the council members could react, Earth soldiers had control of the room. Winters pointed, his weapon directly at Zanar. "Order your people to shut down the weapon now." Zanar's large purple eyes blinked slowly. He seemed unable to comprehend how humans had reached him. "This is impossible. You are a primitive species." "Your mistake was thinking technology alone makes a species advanced," Winters said. "Shut down the weapon or we'll take control of it ourselves and aim it at your fleet." For a long moment, Zanar was silent. Then he looked at Nix and nodded. Slightly. "Deactivate the antimatter weapon," Nix ordered into a communication device. "Authorization code Zanar Prime." The countdown on the screen stopped. Mitchell's voice came over the radio. "Weapon systems powering down. We've secured the control room." With the immediate threat neutralized, Winters used the flagship's communication system to send a message to all council ships and ground forces. Their supreme commander had been captured, and the flagship was under human control. The effect was immediate. Following their rigid command structure, council forces stopped their attacks. Many simply waited for new orders that never came. 2 days later, in the rebuilt United Nations building in New York, Winters sat across from Zanar and the remaining council leadership. Vice Admiral Russell, now acting as Earth's representative, led the negotiations. "Your invasion has failed," Russell stated firmly. "Earth remains under human control." "What are your terms?" Zanar asked, his voice flat. "Complete withdrawal of all council forces from Earth and our solar system," Russell replied. "Recognition of Earth as a sovereign territory outside council jurisdiction, and reparations for the damage caused." "And if we refuse?" Nix asked. Winters spoke for the first time. "We've learned how to use your weapons, your ships, and your technology. We've downloaded your star charts and found the locations of other species you've conquered. We're prepared to help them fight back too." Faced with no alternatives, the council agreed to the terms. They would leave Earth and acknowledge its independence. Some, like Vex and the other defectors, would stay to help humans understand the advanced technology and prepare for life as part of the galactic community. 1 week later, Major Alexander Winters stood on a hill outside Washington, D.C., watching the last council ships leave Earth's atmosphere. Amanda Kelly joined him, now heading Earth's new extraterrestrial technology division. "What do you think they'll tell the rest of the galaxy about us?" she asked. "The truth, I hope," Winters replied. "That humans may not have the most advanced technology, but we have something more important. We never give up when fighting for our home." Above them, the council ships disappeared into the blue sky. Earth had faced its greatest challenge and survived. And thanks to one skeptical major who had trusted his instincts, humanity would now take its place among the stars, not as conquered subjects, but as equals.